You are watching NovaNow.tv, independent community media for Northern Virginia.
Detail, halt! Left, stay!
Heavenly Father, as a nation we pause, we gather, we remember, we mourn and we pray. 20 years ago, when our nation was attacked, things became different for us. But your grace was even there. For we remember not just the violence and the evil and the murder. We remember the great gifts of men and women helping one another, assisting, great acts of heroism, love, and support. Our nation has changed since the 9/11. And we gather and we pause and we stop before you. We remember those who are not here with us, who were taken away from us violently. We also remember the bravery of the men and women who stood up and to defend our nation. The men and women harmed and who gave their lives. For 20 years, we continue to remember 9/11. We thank you for the men and women here, those who could not be with us. And we ask you to bless our nation, to give us peace and unity, and to bless not only all of the gatherings across our country, but around our world, and restore peace and order and love.
Please uncover and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Present arms. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Forward our arms. At ease.
You may be seated. Good morning. Thank you for being here on such a beautiful, clear day. just like 20 years ago. Thank you for being here to honor those who lost their lives, those who served, those who were injured that day, those who are still injured today. We are here for each one of those people. We would like to take the time to recognize a few people that are here that have what we may call special dignitaries. Each one of you is important, but we must say some have certain titles, so we want to make sure and recognize them if we may, please. Thank you, Reverend Barquette, for being here. Truly, truly. From St. Mary's of Sorrows, so close by. I imagine you're doing a special mass tomorrow. It would be great to be able to join with you. Today? Okay, good. We have from our American Legion Post 177, our commander, Jeff White. You heard his voice already as he was leading the honor guard. We have a past commander of the 17th District, John Price, and he is also part of that honor guard. We have a current district president that is here, his wife, Sandy Price. She's also our unit president, so she's wearing many hats this year. Past district president, Edna Eagle, is here. And past 17th district, oops, I mentioned him, our current department president. We are so honored. As the American Legion Auxiliary, we are so honored to have our current Virginia department president, Stacy King. And we are grateful you were able to be here today. One of the people that I'm so excited that you may not have learned about this freedom flag, and I'm hoping that you will take the opportunity to listen and learn about the freedom flag from Unit 1836, Sarah Markle. Markle will be coming. I am a little nervous, I can tell. Yeah. We also have Devin Blake, Colonel retired Devin Blake, that is going to be coming and speaking about how we're going to move forward. And I'm thrilled that she took that time to do so. One of the widows of the victims, we have 4 victims at Fairfax Memorial Park that are buried here. And that's why we have the 9/11 memorial. So one of the victims, John Sammartino, his wife, Debbie Rooney, is here. And we're hoping she'll be able to give us a few words. The other person that I would like to recognize is our Fairfax City Councilman, Mr. Sang Yi. And I've asked if you wouldn't mind, if you have a few minutes, if you would come up and speak. Thank you.
Good morning. Good morning. Such a peaceful day, and kind of reminds you of how peaceful 20 years ago, when we all remember that horrible day. We're here to honor the victims of one of the darkest days in our recent American history. And for 20 years now, I feel like we've been repeating this phrase, never forget. We say never forget all the time. And yet for many of us, we remember that day as if it happened yesterday. I had the unfortunate experience of standing on the waterfront of the Long Island Sound in New York. I was a second-class Merchant Marine Academy midshipman. And we used to stare out this iconic view of the cityscape of the World Trade Center right behind the Throgs Neck Bridge. It's actually on our class rim. I skipped class that morning. You're not allowed to do that at the academy, but I did it. And as I watched outside, I saw that second plane hit that tower. And it was the most incredible sense of feeling I've never felt before. As an American, I felt vulnerable. It's something that you never imagined you would feel as an American. I felt fear. And I remember that day so vibrantly, yet I still say never forget. I say never forget all the time. And why do we say that? We say that because, well, my wife and I, we have a 7-year-old and 5-year-old. They weren't born. There are younger Americans who are full adults now who don't remember that day at all. They have no memory of that day. It's important for us that we publicly remember that day and that we share our experiences and share how we feel and our experiences from that day, what it means. Because no matter whether you were there or whether you weren't there or whether you remember or how much you remember, each and every one of us as Americans, we were harmed by the evils from that day. Make no mistake, all of us Americans were harmed by the evils of that day. We're here today to recognize that for the families and the friends of the 2,977 individuals we lost that day, and all the blood and sacrifice of the men and women of our armed services who fought overseas after that day, that for them, the pain lives on. September 11, 2001, it's a day that will never end for them. But beyond that pain, beyond that darkness, faith, compassion, hope, heroes emerged that day. We remember that. It was incredible. We had a national unity that was forged by the spirit of our Americanness. Something you really haven't seen in 20 years. But this is the reminder. And I think we all know why that happened. It wasn't just the evil that brought that out. It's because deep down inside, we all know that we love one another. We love each other and our country as Americans. And I think that's the most important reminder of how we can honor our victims. The victims and the men and women who've sacrificed their lives to keep us safe for the last 2 decades. We honor them by remembering what it means to love one another. We honor them by making sure that we create an America where we know that those who are fallen would have wanted to live in today, where we know that they would have wanted their children and their grandchildren to live in what kind of America they wanted to live today. That's how we honor them. But folks, it really shouldn't be that much of a monumental struggle. It's rather simple. It starts with us right here. It starts with you and me. It starts with your neighborhoods, our local community, right here in Fairfax. Don't ever forget. So let's leave this memorial today, committed to being proud Americans together. Ones who look after one another every day. Not just after national tragedies, but every day. And if we succeed, we're going to gather here next September. And we will mourn together. But we'll also smile together with pride in our hearts that we've done everything we can to best honor the victims and to best honor those men and women who sacrificed themselves following that day. I'm grateful to be here with you. Thank you all for coming today. And let us never forget what happened that day on September 11, 2001, and what it means and who we lost. God bless you, and God bless America.
Councilman Yee, thank you for your kind words of remembrance on this very important day. 20 years ago, our lives were changed forever. Suicide attacks were completed against the United States of America using 4 airline commercial jets as weapons. By this time of day, on that beautiful, clear September morning, the first and second planes had crashed into the north and then the south towers of the World Trade Center. At 9:38 a.m., the third plane was flown into the Pentagon. Within the next hour, the South Tower collapses. A portion of the Pentagon collapses. The fourth plane plunges into a field in Somerset County, near Shanksville, Pennsylvania. The passengers on that plane heroically saved the Capitol from possible destruction. Within the next 18 minutes, the North Tower collapses. In a time span of 1 hour and 42 minutes, the world was drastically changed.
We had fathers and mothers, brothers and sisters, sons and daughters, and even friends, work colleagues, and neighbors taken from us that day. They were taken from us with heartbreaking swiftness and cruelty. For all Americans, for all time, the phrase 9/11 will bring to mind a sad, special meaning, a memory of a moment in our history when the world as we knew it changed forever. It is fitting then that we honor the memory of those victims who died that day. It is critical that we remember there are those who are still dying inside because of the events of that day and the repercussions that followed. American Airlines Flight 11, which crashed into the northern tower of the World Trade Center at 8:46 a.m., had 92 victims on board. At 9:03 a.m., United Airlines Flight 175 crashed into the south tower of the World Trade Center with 65 victims aboard. There were 64 victims on board American Airlines Flight 77 that crashed into the Pentagon at 9:38 a.m. 3 of those passengers are buried here at Fairfax Memorial Park. Stanley Hall was a native Virginian. An Army veteran, Mr. Hall continued to serve our nation, developing and building anti-radar technology. His goal was to protect the American servicemen. Not only did Mr. Hall serve our nation, he enjoyed serving God. He was a Sunday school teacher, and he served on the church's school board of trustees. Vicki Yancey was also on the flight. Her husband David is at the Pentagon today. He shared that Vicki and he met in Hawaii when they were both in the Navy. They married and had 2 daughters, one in Hawaii and one here in Fairfax. Vicki began working as a civilian for the Navy after her children had grown a little older. She had just begun traveling and was on her way to a conference. Vicki had an enormous interest in political chat rooms. She never cut down anyone, even when they didn't agree with her left-of-center ideals. She was always cordial, always nice. So much so that Mr. Yancey still receives emails to this day from many conservative people she had chatted with, saying how much they miss talking politics with her. If you look her up on YouTube, you will find a video of her speaking before Congress. Vicki loved her job. She adored her children, and she absolutely loved politics. The 3rd passenger buried here is John Sammartino. John was also traveling to the West Coast for his company. His widow, Debbie Rooney, is here today. Debbie, would you like to come up, please? We would be honored if you would like to say a little bit about John.
I will try not to break down. My late husband, John Sammartino, he grew up in New York, New York City, lived in Flushing, came down here to go to school, went to George Washington University, and later Johns Hopkins, and got a bachelor's and master's in engineering. We met at the Naval Research Lab, which is the first job for both of us. We worked in different departments, but we met each other through softball. And we fell in love, got married, moved out here. We're about 10 minutes away. I'm still there. And we just had just this nice life. We had a beautiful little girl, Nicole, who's now 23 and is a great right now. He loved music. He played the clarinet, the saxophone, the guitar, the bass guitar, and probably something else I'm forgetting. He also loved to do things around the house. He made furniture. We were in the middle of renovating our kitchen when all this happened. We had a contractor expand the room, and then he was in charge of putting the cabinets in and doing all the finishing work. And unfortunately, I didn't quite get finished, so I had to get that done. But I just wanted, he was just, we had this great life, and it just got cut short. He took that flight about every 6 weeks to visit the company headquarters in California. And he liked that flight because he could stay, he wouldn't have to spend a night away from us. He could take that early flight and get to the West Coast for a 1 o'clock meeting. And it just gave us more time to spend together. And I just miss him. And I miss that he's missed our daughter grow up. And she's missed having a father. Thank you for your time.
I wanted to present you with a special gift from Fairfax Memorial. Oh, that's beautiful. That picture still is in my bedroom. And that was the one we used at his service. Thank you so much. I'm sorry. No.
Your face, you were content to let me shine. That's your way. You always walked a step behind. So I was the one with all the glory. Were the one with all the strength, a beautiful face to hide the pain for so long. I never once saw you complain. Did you ever know that you're my hero? Everything I would like to be. Oh yeah, I can fly higher than an eagle, 'cause you are the wind beneath my wings. It might have appeared to go unnoticed, I've got it right here in my heart. I want you to know I know the truth. Of course I know it. I would be nothing without you. Did you ever know that you're my hero? Everything I would like to be. I can fly higher than an eagle, 'cause you are the
Our fourth victim that is buried here is James Thomas Lynch. Did you know that there were 2 James Lynches that died as a result of the attacks? One was in New York and one was here in Virginia. Our James Lynch was working at the Pentagon. Mr. Lynch was very patriotic. He always flew the flag in his front yard. He spent many hours working in his yard, feeding hummingbirds, and had a multitude of rose bushes. Mr. Lynch was known to travel the halls of the Pentagon handing out Werther candies. He tried to bring a smile to everyone he thought needed it. One of the Fairfax American Legion Post 177 Legionnaires knew James Lynch and had worked with him. So the candies that are on your chair are in his honor. As you enjoy it, you'll be able to thank him for his service too.
One person took the pain of losing their best friend that day. He knew that the awful events story needs to be told to the next generation and many generations to follow. His way of telling the story was to design the freedom flag. Sarah Markle, from Unit 1836 in Lovettsville, Virginia, is here to tell that story.
Few events shape our lives to the point that we remember exactly what we were doing at the moment we learned of them. For those of us who were alive on 9/11, we will never forget where we were and how we felt at that exact moment. There is not a life here that has not somehow been impacted or shaped by the day's events. Just after 9/11, the freedom flag was drawn by a Virginian as a simple sketch on a napkin, and the idea ultimately became the flag you see before you today. By a unanimous vote of the 2018 Virginia General Assembly, this flag also became Virginia's official flag of remembrance for 9/11. Today, the freedom flag is our nation's only codified 9/11 flag of remembrance, and it has been flown and displayed in over 1,000 schools and in every state in the U.S. Since 2002, the Freedom Flag Foundation's goal has been to make our flag the national symbol of remembrance. Since 9/11, 70 million children have been born in the U.S., meaning that over 20% of our population has no living memory of 9/11. Have you asked a child or a grandchild if they can tell you what happened on this tragic day? Although it was a day that changed our nation forever, the next generation has little understanding of exactly what happened that day. The freedom flag symbolism makes it an easy place to start, to help our younger generations understand the gravity of the day's events. The patriotic red, white, and blue colors and symbols are an appropriate way to help focus our attention to all who lived and died and all our heroes involved in that day and who are ready to stand today and always to run towards the danger on our behalf and our first responders in the military. What the freedom flag represents. The white star represents all who lived and died for freedom. The bars around the star represent the Pentagon and the organized protection of our freedom. The blue background is all Americans united together for freedom. The top red stripe is symbolizing the bloodshed of those who perished at the Pentagon and the crew and passengers who died on American Airlines Flight 77. The two middle red stripes represent the Twin Towers and the bloodshed of the people who perished at the World Trade Center on American Airlines Flight 11 and United American Airlines Flight 175. The bottom red stripe symbolizes the bloodshed of the crew and passengers who perished on United Airlines Flight 93 in Pennsylvania. And the white stripes. The white stripes represent the rescue workers, the firefighters, the police officers, the Port Authority employees, and the others who work tirelessly. before, during, and after the attacks. I'll ask that you'll join me in a moment of silence. Thank you.
Sarah, I do want to thank you for coming. You can tell it's heartfelt. This is important that this story continue to be told. As you will see, some of us are wearing the lapel pin that shows the freedom flag. And we do have, we would like at Fairfax Memorial Park, would like to give each one of you one of these lapel pins. So if you would, when we have our refreshments, we would ask that you just come and jot down your name, address, and phone number. We'll call you if you live in the area. We'll mail it to you if you don't, and we'll make sure that you get a freedom flag lapel pin so that you can always honor September 11 too. It is always worn under the American flag, never above. Sarah, I just have a small gift. Thank you so much. And our president, Stacy, I have a small gift for the two of you.
Thank you so much.
We truly appreciate having you here. What great fun. Sound Device, part of the Sweet Adelines Quartet, are going to help us seal up this wonderful feeling.
This next song that we're going to sing is in honor of all of those that have served and continue to serve to protect our country. We all know that freedom is not free. So as we sing this song, if you hear your service's song, feel free to stand, feel free just to be acknowledged so we can honor you.
Sound off, sound off, sound off, sound off. 1, 2, 3, 4, sound off. First to fight for the right and to build the nation's might, and the army goes rolling along. Proud of all we have done, fighting till the battle's won, and the army goes rolling along. And it's high, high, hey, the army's on its way. Count off the cadence loud and strong. Where'er we go, you always know that the army goes rolling along. Anchors away, my boys. Anchors away. Farewell to foreign shores. We sail at break of day. To our last night ashore, drink to the foam, until we meet once more. Here's wishing you a happy voyage home. Here is the Coast Guard marching song, our song we sing on land or sea. Through surf and storm and howling gale, high shall our purpose be. Semper Paratus is our guide, our fame, our glory too. To fight, to save, or fight and die. High Coast Guard, we are for you, for you. From the halls of Montezuma to the shores of Tripoli. First to fight for right and freedom, and to keep our honor clean. We are proud to claim the honor of United States Marines. Off we go into the wild blue yonder, climbing high into the sky. Here they come, do you hear our thunder? Atom boys, give it the gun. Down we dive, spouting our flame from under. Off with one hell of a roar. We live in fame or go down in flame.
Ain't nothing to stop the U.S. Air Force. Hooray for the flag of the free. May it wave as our standard forever. The gem of the land and the sea. It's the banner of the right, of the right. We'll always remember the day when our fathers with mighty endeavor proclaimed as they marched to the fray that by their might and by their right it waits forever, forever the USA.
That was beautiful. Thank you. Today we recall and we celebrate what we learned about ourselves on September 11th, 2001. We recall and we will celebrate how many brave Americans acted that day. We remember, as many times before in our rich American history, how ordinary people living ordinary lives reacted with extraordinary heroism. To this day, ordinary people choose self-sacrifice for the good of strangers. As the quartet presented so beautifully, many ordinary people have volunteered to serve in our military in extraordinary ways. Colonel Colonel Devin Blake served our nation with pride and dignity. She also continues to serve in a different capacity. As we were planning the service, so many people mentioned that the current events in Afghanistan are bringing us back memories and reminding each of us how the impact of the actions of some have on the world as a whole. Please allow her to speak about where we as individuals can go from here after the ceremony.
Good morning. Good morning. I feel really unqualified to be standing before you after the remarks that we've heard and just the people we have in the audience today. It's truly humbling to be before you. Thank you for the beautiful medley. That was truly incredible. It's an awesome tribute. I have a lot of mixed emotions today. I haven't worn my uniform in 2 years. Since I signed my retirement paperwork on this day, September 11th, 2 years ago. I chose this day to sign that when I decided to move to the next chapter of my life. And what I realized this morning as I was putting it on, hoping it would fit, was that so much of my time in uniform was directly associated with the events that occurred on this day. And so for so many in uniform today, that's all they've known. It's the war on terror. There are 3 themes that come to mind, and Councilman Yee, I think you read my remarks before you spoke. One of them, the obvious, remembering not to forget. The second is that we collectively, we have to work to stay united. And then third, it's up to us to keep hope alive, but at the same time, inspire action for positive change. As stated earlier, most of us remember where we were. Some remember where they were when Kennedy was shot. It's these events that really make that mark and that long-term impact on our lives that resonate so closely to our hearts. On the 10th anniversary, back in 2011, I was deployed overseas. We were doing the drawdown out of Iraq. As you remember, we had to be out by December of that year. I asked several of my troops what it meant to them to serve. And for most that I spoke with, the younger troops, 9/11 was their personal calling to serve something greater than themselves. It had instilled in them this desire to give back to our nation. For others, it was more personal. They lost a loved one, and they wanted to do something to be able to support them in that effort. 5 short years later, on the 15th anniversary, I was in brigade command. I asked the same questions of the young troops. And as stated earlier, most of their memories were not personal memories. They hadn't yet been born. Most were memories that were shared with them. Today, most of our troops joining the armed forces were not even alive, as we know. Less than 1% of our entire US population is on active duty right now. Only 14 states require that 9/11 be taught in the classroom. So when we think about our duty not to forget, I think it is important to recognize that this is not necessarily common history that's taught. And if we want to remember it, we have to take action to do so. Do you remember what it was like on September 12th? When you think back to September 12th, the aftermath, I recall the sense of a sweeping change across our country. There was a sense of unification that I hadn't felt in my lifetime. We had the sense to support one another, to rally together toward a common cause. Today, sometimes I think we've lost some of that sentiment. We've left it behind. But now more than ever, I do think we need to work in order to stay united. For me, being united means we can't be fearful or hateful of other cultures, religions, beliefs that may not match our own. I grew fond of many of the Afghans and Iraqis that I worked with while I was deployed. One of my closest friends is an Afghan American. It's one of my neighbors. I think it's too easy for us to judge that which we do not know. This morning, I've been texting with an Afghan that I worked very closely with, who now we've been trying to get out. He's in a safe house, and every day he sends me a note. And this morning I asked him, I said, if there's anything that you could share about 9/11, what would it be? And he told me, he said, terrorists don't have a religion. He said, so many of the victims were Muslim. And sometimes I think that's easy to forget. We don't often think about the fact that 90 countries lost citizens in attacks that day. Most of those countries joined us in solidarity as we mourned our own losses, to include the 4 buried here who are with us in spirit. When the 13 troops were killed on August 26th, if you remember the ISIS suicide bomber, one of my other Afghan colleagues that's being hunted by the Taliban, he wrote and he said, I'm so sorry for the 13 lives that were lost and that were sacrificed trying to help his people. Never once did he mention the 169 Afghan lives that were taken in that same bombing. He was thinking about us and all that we'd sacrificed. And he recognized what we'd sacrificed was not for loss. We must work to stay united. After the tragedies of that day, the United States took action. We didn't just hope that we didn't get attacked again. We recognized that we needed to do something. And we took action to defend the freedoms and the liberties that are at the core of every American citizen. So 20 years later, as I'm watching these events unfold, our actions resulted in America that continues to be grounded excuse me, in the freedoms that we espouse. I am so grateful that I can stand before you today and that we're able to celebrate 20 years without another foreign attack on U.S. soil. The lives that were lost were not in vain. We are here to continue to share in the freedoms that we enjoy. I'm saddened, I'm frustrated that we've left friends and colleagues behind that served alongside us. But the goodness is that there's an entire whole new generation that has seen and understands freedom in Afghanistan and liberty as a result of our presence there. And that I'm confident of, especially the young girls, and the fact that they were able to witness firsthand what true freedom really means. The Pilgrims came to America to escape religious persecution. Our country was founded by foreigners looking for a new start. When we see a foreigner in this country that may not speak English and may not quite understand our culture, each of us can understand and represent to them the hope that they clung to when they left their own country, often in fear, in search of the American dream and a better life. What we represent to the rest of the world is not like anywhere else. During the last 2 weeks, we had military forces on the ground in Afghanistan. I worked with an underground nonprofit organization led by several of my West Point classmates. Our goal, like many ad hoc organizations that stood up, was to do our best to get U.S. citizens, Afghans, and allies out of the country and to safety. We worked 24/7 in order to do that. Our group alone succeeded in getting 566 out. There were nearly 30,000 that were registered on our list alone, that we're still working to vet to ensure that every single person that does get out is not a threat to this country or another country. Our work is not yet done. For the families, the loved ones of all the victims, especially those here today, we must not forget. We collectively must work to stay united, and it's up to us to keep hope alive and continue to
inspire action for positive change. Thank you for all that you do.
Thank you, Colonel Devin Blake. I just wanted to share a poem today by Teresa Gahn, Never Forget. That sad September day, an ordinary Tuesday morning with beautiful sunny weather, but soon something would happen to change our world forever. 4 planes went down, 2 towers fell. A lot of people died, and when the news spread far and wide, millions of us cried. We honored the heroes who stayed in harm's way. We felt sad for the families and bowed our heads to pray. We felt pride in our country for sticking close together. Neighbors and strangers gathered to help give to one another. It happened long ago, but it's not far away. The memories will always be with us of that sad September day. Never forget. Thank you.
Each person here has a story. Each one of us either was directly involved, motivated to serve, knew someone who passed, knew someone who's still injured. Each one of us has a why as to why this story is important. So please, after the benediction, after the retirement of colors, after the playing of taps, please don't leave. Come, enjoy some bread, some muffins, donut holes, a little coffee and water, and talk to somebody that you haven't talked to. Tell your why. Tell your story, what you were doing, what you know. Each one of us needs to be able to talk about it. We would be honored if you would stay and take part.
Detail 10. Hut.
Heavenly Father, we give you praise and thanksgiving for the witness of this day for us. We ask you at this moment to bless not only all of us gathered here, but to bless our nation. Strengthen us with the resolve that your love is stronger than hatred. Your gifts of grace are present with us when we need it most. And those who gave their lives are witness of that greatness of gift of self to others. Bless us this day and every day that we might not only remember, but to enact the ideas that our nation was founded for. Thank you for this day, and thank you for continuing to be with us. Please stand for taps.
Detail. Mount. Colors. Present. Arms. Order. Arms. Right. Face. Forward. March.
Would you like to give us a word about the program today? Your thoughts? Go ahead.
Well, I enjoyed it. I wish more people would show up. And if I do it next year, I'm going to try to be there if I'm around. Thank you.
God bless you. Thank you for your service. Okay, we're here with Debbie Rooney. Debbie, very powerful words. Again, I know you've heard this a million times, but our condolences for your loss. Tell us what this meant to come out here today on the 20th anniversary and address your community.
To be honest, I wasn't sure if I was up to this. I tend not to go to any of the ceremonies. I went to the one year here actually, but I usually would just spend kind of a day, you know, in reflection, visiting the grave and usually going out to lunch with a friend, raising a glass to my late husband. But when I heard about this, it just felt like the time was right, and maybe it was time to see the outpouring of just the love from everybody in the community. It's just amazing.
Today we were honored to be able to tell the story of the Freedom Flag. The Freedom Flag was designed by a native Virginian in Richmond. In 2018, the Freedom Flag Foundation was able to have the governor sign into law, making the Freedom Flag the official flag of remembrance of 9/11 for the state of Virginia. The Freedom Flag's goal is to make sure that every child knows what happened and to provide the means to do that. The flag, as we said in our speech, represents what happened that day. I do recommend that you take a look online at the Freedom Flag Foundation website and look at all of the supplemental items that they have to help you talk with the young ones in your life.
I'm Devin Blake, and who am I? I'm a wife, I'm a mom, and yeah, I love serving my country. So yeah, absolutely beautiful ceremony here today. It was such an honor to be a part of it, and truly the words of, especially the the woman who lost her husband, and it was so touching to just be a part of a group that truly remembers and recognizes the sacrifices that were made over the last 20 years of the war on terrorism.
That's good? All right.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, it's great to meet you. I'll see you
well.
guys. Take
Thanks
care.
for all that you do.
Take care, sir. We're here with the organizer of our event and one of our illustrious guests. Very powerful words that you had to say. Tell us who you are and your thoughts on the day.
So my name's Sherry Brown, and I'm the Family Service Director here at Fairfax Memorial Park. I've been here for a little bit over a year and a half, and we thought that it was very important, especially with the 20th anniversary and what's currently happening in Afghanistan, to have this service here at Fairfax today.
Were you pleased with it, how it went off?
I was more than pleased with it.
Absolutely. And Councilman, tell us who you are, and very powerful words that you gave today. Thank you for your time and your service to our country, sir.
Thank you. I'm Councilman Sang Yi from the city of Fairfax, and it was a great honor to be here today and speak with all the guests here today. And Fairfax Memorial Park did a great job. The American Legion did a great job. The auxiliary did a wonderful job, and I think it really captures the spirit and the emotions that we all share and feel about being part of this American story that really changed our lives and the trajectory of our country. And I think one of the most important things today for the takeaway, you heard it from the father, you heard it from the colonel, and I remarked on this as well, is that we need to go back to realizing that we love each other and that who we are as Americans only exists when we're together in that unity. And so I hope that was a good takeaway today, and honoring the memory of all those we lost on 9/11.
Okay, ladies, you want to give a word about who you are and what you think of the program today? It's turned out beautiful, right?
The program was wonderful. It was very, time-wise, it was perfect for what our country's going through right now, and what they brought to us was that this is not being taught in our schools, and it needs to be. As she mentioned, only 14 schools in the country. Was it the country or the state? The state that is being, that the children are being taught to remember and what happened on 9/11, and it's extremely important for everyone to remember. We love being a part of this. We love being part of the celebration and the remembrance.
It's an honor.
Yeah,
it's truly an honor to be a part of it. I thought the theme that the councilman had, and also the colonel, the retired colonel had, was all about love. And while all of us aren't going to forget because it feels like yesterday, there's an entire generation of kids, including my own, who don't really have much of a memory at all of it. And so I think that remembering that we were once very, very united, and that at the heart of it is remembering to love each other, and that we actually do love each other, and that sometimes we forget that we love each other. So never forget.
Never forget.
Amen.
It was a good theme.
Awesome. Thank you so much, ladies.
Thank you.
God bless you.
Thank you.
So in your talk, you had made mention about the small number of states that actually require teaching the history of 9/11 and that day in their curriculum. Tell us how you came upon that information and how that makes you feel.
Yeah, absolutely. So it is a requirement in the state of Virginia, I think perhaps because it hits so close to home to the families that are here. And I was actually got to peek inside the classroom of somebody who was sharing his personal stories and teaching the history as a history teacher. And I began to research, and because he made a statement about the fact that only 14 states actually require teaching it. And if we truly espouse the words never forget, then I think it is something that we need to ensure is part of our history for generations to come.
So I think it should be taught in the schools now. I have a little bit of mixed emotions about that, having a young child that had gone up through the school system. And we usually didn't wear our 9/11 connection on our sleeve. I just remember her coming home one day from 8th grade civics class, and her teacher had basically gone through the flight paths of all 4 planes. And he didn't know. So So I called him the next morning and he changed his lesson plan. But now that everybody in school now
Let's go to the office. We'll clean this stuff up.
not connected really directly, and these kids are going to forget. And I really think it's important now. You know, they maybe you know, not in graphic detail like some of the teachers have, and maybe let people know ahead of time. So if someone does have a connection, like a grandparent or something, and they wouldn't want to, but I think like it's like an opt-out. But I really think it should be taught in the schools.
Okay, so it's after the event and the hubbub is over, the cleanup is just about wrapping up, and I was honored to run into Karen Dene. I'm sorry I didn't have a chance to catch you while all the folks are in here and get a formal interview with you, but I still have my cell phone open and you told me a great story as to the why. So Karen, tell folks who you are and why you put this together today.
Well, so I'm a member of the American Legion Auxiliary in Fairfax, and I work at Fairfax Memorial Park. And it became very important to me to have a service like this. One of our Legionnaires at the post was in the Pentagon at the time of the crash. And to this day, 20 years later, he still cannot talk about it. And I just believe strongly that he needs that healing and that others need that healing. They need to be able to talk about it. And so I just thought we need to be able to put this service together. And so his wife was here as an auxiliary member, and she attended, and he had said he was not coming, but I noticed in the middle of the presentation he was actually standing at his car listening, and every once in a while he'd walk up nearby and then he'd walk back. And I'm just praying that this is something that will help him heal and help others heal during this time.
Well, God bless you and thank you for putting this on.
Yeah, my
Appreciate
honor.
that.